to like the slides
Yeah,
when.
I can advance them. Yeah, just tell me
Oh,
when you
okay.
want, like,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay, great. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, welcome everyone. Just wanted to welcome everyone for coming today. This is our information session for the 2024 SUNY CUNY Southeast Asia Consortium online course and field school. So this is just a sort of information session that will lay out a number of like vital information about this year's field school, which will be held in Malaysia at Kuala Lumpur in June of 2025, as well as like the application process and what we're looking for, and costs and things like that. So I guess a sort of little roadmap about what we're going to do today. I first thought I'm going to introduce a little bit about the CUNY SUNY Southeast Asia Consortium, and then talk a little bit about, well, actually introduce ourselves, who we are, who are the lead faculty for this year, who are the sort of people that you will probably be in contact with about the various logistics of the field school, and then we'll have a little bit of a sort of sharing. There are a number of people here who were a part of the field school last year, and we would love to hear a little bit about their experiences, to give you a sense of what to expect in June of 2025. And then after that, I'll turn it over to my colleagues, EK and Lauren, who are the other lead faculty for this year. And they will talk more about eligibility, costs, and the application process. So Meredith, you want to advance the first slide? So just a little bit about the SUNY CUNY Southeast Asian Consortium. So this is a group of a group of scholars all working on Southeast Asia got together to form an interdisciplinary initiative to support one another. We all sort of work on Southeast Asia or Southeast Asia adjacent topics. And the idea of this is to bring together two of the largest public university systems, right? The SUNY system and the CUNY system together to create sort of a framework or or infrastructure to support one another. We at one point we realized that we are all atomized in our sort of silos, institutional silos, and the idea is to kind of come together and to provide sort of to build networks and communities for each other as scholars as well as for students. We are funded by the Henry Luce Foundation very generously. So right now we are currently in a 3-year cycle, but we are hoping that we will be able to continue that. This year's field school will be year 2 of this 3-year cycle. Okay, Meredith. Right. So introductions. Our field school this year, again, June of 2025 in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. There's 3 of us who are going to be the lead faculty. A little bit about myself. My name is Martina Nguyen. I am Associate Professor of History at Baruch College in CUNY. I'm a historian of modern Vietnam. So I work on Vietnam during the French colonial period. My interest is in, I'm currently writing a gender history during the colonial period on how Vietnamese built and formulated ideologies of patriarchy and wove those ideologies into Vietnamese national identity. And I guess I'll have Lauren and EK introduce themselves as well.
Lauren?
All right. Hi, I'm Lauren Meeker. I teach at SUNY New Paltz. I'm in the anthropology department, and I'm also a scholar of Vietnam, although I work on contemporary Vietnam. So my research has looked at, right now it's looking at ritual. I've been doing some work on online worship. I'm also a visual anthropologist, so I make films about ritual, cultural politics, performance, and have actually been also working on gender lately on a couple of projects as well. So that's my research.
Hi everyone, I'm EK Tant. I'm from the SUNY Stony Brook. I teach in the Department of English and Asian American Studies. I'm working on a project called Queer Homecoming, the translocal remapping of asylum and kinship. This is a project that looks at LGBTQ movement, how they engage with different tactics by using media as a way to circulate ideas. I'm also working on another project. I need to finish the one that I'm working on now so I can move on to the other one which I look at specifically language policies in Singapore, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan, and ethnic China, to understand how language policies impact cultural production in these locales. That's all, Martina.
Okay, great. Excuse me. Actually, Meredith, you don't get away from this. You have to introduce yourself as well. So this is Meredith Weiss, the director of the Southeast Asian Consortium.
Hi, I'm Meredith. I'm a professor of political science at SUNY Albany and work mostly Singapore, Malaysia, some Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand on civil society activism, urban politics, elections, and a bunch of other stuff.
Great, thanks, Mary. And Elizabeth, could you also introduce yourself, since you're going to be probably the sort of point person that a lot of people will be reaching out to?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Lawrenson. I'm a PhD student at Stony Brook, and I was in the class or the course last year, which I really enjoyed, and I'm happy to be the program assistant this year. So feel free to email me with any questions that you have, or also any updates that you have related to the consortium. But happy to meet you all.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Next slide, please. Great. So what I want to do is to introduce the theme this year for the field school. It will be in Malaysia, as I said before, in Kuala Lumpur. But the theme this year is Southeast Asian identities in popular culture and literature. So this year, we're going to look at how Southeast Asian identities are made legible across different cultural media. We're interested in projects that deal with issues of representation, translation, within contexts of change. It's very, very broad, but basically an exploration of popular culture and literature in the formation of Southeast Asian identities. We're interested in these themes across any area of Southeast Asia from any disciplinary perspective. And actually, what's really great about this is the fact that we can have, for example, historians sit together with anthropologists, sit together with political scientists, and have these kinds of conversations about Southeast Asia. And so we want to keep it as sort of broad and broadly disciplinary as well as geographical. So last year, we had a number, we were able to bring a number of students and faculty to the first field school, which was held in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Actually, we're lucky to have one of the lead faculty from last year's field school here. This is Ben Tosig at Stony Brook, and he could just say a little bit about the different sort of projects that people worked on, as well as a little bit about the field school in Chiang Mai last year. Ben?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction, Martina. Yeah, I mean, first of all, just to say that it was a fantastic experience. This kind of rare thing in academia where you get to spend dedicated time with both colleagues and students. It's a chance for mentorship, which goes both ways. It's also, just being sort of outside of the many distractions that exist during the semester and on campus. You can kind of focus on methods and practices and in doing things, in really wonderful ways. The group that we went with was also a very blessed group. Everyone was super brilliant and super engaged, and I know that that will be the case again this year. We had undergraduates, we had graduate students, we had faculty members. We had folks who know Thailand very well. Myself and one of the students spoke Thai. We had people who didn't know Thai at all. We had people with sort of partial research projects situated in Thailand, and others who were, Southeast Asianists otherwise, but not without work specific to Thailand. We had people who were, invested in things like urban studies, who for whom Chiang Mai was an interesting site, even though it wasn't their site. So there were all kinds of connections, and all of them were interesting. And the mixture of folks and their research interests together really, really popped. We worked, sort of methodologically as well as historically. So in other words, we did some talking and reading about the place where we were, socio-political issues. Our theme was protest and political dissent. So they learned a little bit about the context that we were in. And then we talked about how to approach questions related to various political topics ethnographically. So we would go out and we would speak to people, and the faculty, particularly Nerve and myself, organized outings. And in these outings, the students had the opportunity, they would learn about whatever it is we were going to see first, right? So we did see, like, for example, a political protest. We joined some students at Chiang Mai University who were putting together protest materials. We hung out with them. We made signs. We, just heard about, their commitments, their projects, their goals, and spent some hours doing that. And then we accompanied them to a protest, and we talked about documentation. We talked about safety. We talked about how to interview. We talked about positionality and understanding ourselves in relation to these contexts. And all those things, were sort of, we got into the methodological nitty-gritty. So, it was a very hands-on experience, a very fruitful experience. And I feel certainly like I got to know everyone really well. I remain in touch with a lot of the students from the program, and it was valuable in itself, and it's been valuable afterwards as well.
Great, thanks, Ben. Nerv, not to put you on the spot, I just saw that Nerv Makasbak, who was the other lead faculty for last year, has also joined. Did you want to say, did you have anything to add to what Ben's just said? Okay, sorry, I did put Nerve on the spot. Actually, so I guess we have a couple of folks here today who were participant on the field school last year. So Tenjo, you were a graduate student participant at the field school last year. Could you say a few words about your experience?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, hi everyone. I was very lucky to be able to join. I just want to echo what Ben has said. It was a great experience. Ben and Nerv were both amazing facilitator and teachers for us. So yeah, I don't really quite know where to start, but there are a few sites that sort of like crystallize and concretize what we mean by political mobilization. So we went to places like Book Republic, which was a library that was targeted for censorship. So we spoke to the owner. They were closed by the state and then reopened. So we talked about that experience with them. We also visited places like environmental organization like Sapa Lam Hai Jai, which was dealing with air pollution stemming from sort of the burning of corn plantations, which was a huge agriculture industry. But one of my favorite things is also drawing the political to the personal, and the literary. So for example, we went to Tunin Garden, which was run by Suma Lee, who's the wife of the late author, Rong Wangsawan. And yeah, so all of these sort of crystallize into like a really great and effective learning experience, like thinking about the decisions that Ben and Nerv made for the trip. And one of my favorite things is just learning also about not just intellectual work and methodologies, but also just like personal research interests. So we went to the Gate Theater, which I slowly learned is that Ben's research on Maurice Rocco, on a jazz pianist in Thailand, sort of started, not necessarily started, but was using personal relationships through that and like figuring out historical research. So that was really valuable to me, to just see both Ben and Nerv in the field site and seeing what they were doing, how they were talking to people. And yeah, so that was really cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Tenjo. We also have Yun Rich, who was an undergraduate participant in the field school last year. Yun, could you say a few words about the experience as an undergrad?
Yeah, so as an undergrad, I'm an anthropology student here at New Paltz. I went in with an interest in the Future Forward Party and the Move Forward Party and Peter Limjaroenrat. And I came out as a better academic, being able to see the workshopping process of papers and just being involved with grad students and faculty in close quarters like that made me a much better student. And then taking everything that I learned in the classroom as an anthropologist and the anthropological methods, and then seeing them put into action, and it was very beneficial for me as a going forward in my career as an anthropologist, and it was transformative. It was the greatest experience of my life so far, and I can't understate that enough.
Thanks. So what are the next steps? Are you planning on applying to grad school, or what's happening next?
Yeah, so I'm in the process of looking at grad schools and getting some applications together, but also looking for jobs, save up money as well. So I'm in a crossroads right now, but the plan ultimately going forward is to finish grad school and do my PhD. But how long that takes, I don't know, but it will happen eventually.
Great. Okay, Meredith, do you think you could advance the slide, because the next slide are exciting photos of what of the field school from last year and the various activities that Ben and Nerve had planned. But yeah, I think the next slide, I think so I'm going to turn the floor over to EK, who's going to talk to everyone about eligibility, costs, all the sort of nitty-gritty stuff.
Before I do that, can I ask if Elizabeth wants to share her experience too?
Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth.
No, it's okay. So I participated in the course, but I didn't go on the trip. But I can share a little bit about that. So we read a lot of things related to protests all around Asia. And I thought it was really interesting to learn from the other participants in the course, just based on their disciplinary focus. Specifically because, like some others have shared, we have people in urban studies, we have people working, like I myself am in the music department, but I work on sound. And we also had people working with like discard studies, how clothing is moved around the world, and how that is an issue we can be aware of as activists. We also got to see Jacqueline's work at the Conference for Human Rights, which I found to be a really important experience, seeing different members of SEAC's involvement with just activism and human rights organizations globally. And I think it opened my eyes a lot to how connected all of these networks can be when we have organizations like SEAC coming together to give us an opportunity to network, because I've met people from so many different countries, different institutions, and got a lot of research contacts. And yeah, I highly recommend participants joining either the course or the field school, both. I've had a really positive experience from everyone so far. So thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So the part I'm responsible for is important, right? Because you want to know whether you are eligible or not, who can be a part of this. So any faculty, any students who are related to CUNY and SUNY are eligible. The faculty members, not only just non-tenure track or tenure track faculty members, contingent faculty members are also eligible to apply to join this join our workshop and field school. As long as you're a SUNY or CUNY enrolled student or a faculty in SUNY or CUNY in any disciplines, you can be a part of this. So we are looking at specifically individuals who have projects that are tied to our theme or overlaps with our theme. Right, it doesn't have to necessarily be on Malaysia. It could be any parts of Southeast Asia, as long as it fits into our popular culture, popular media theme for the year. We usually take in based on what we had last year. Our idea is to take in about 10 participants. It will be a process of a competitive selective process to find a good balance between faculty members and students, graduate students, and undergraduate students. So of course you have to be registered students during the time when we host the field school and workshop. So if you are graduating in spring, that means you are not eligible. So I think that's important to point out, because I've already a student who just recently asked me about this question. She's graduating in spring. Okay, Meredith, can we go to the next slide? Thank you.
Can I say something like very briefly, because I have to jump off, and I just wanted to just very I really just wanted to kind of underscore something that EK just said that I think needs to be kind of like foregrounded, which is the fact that this is open to contingent faculty and anyone else. The specialness of this like really should be highlighted. The fact that this grant exists and that specifically the field school exists in SUNY and CUNY is really exceptionally rare in itself. But the fact that it's also available to anyone, literally anyone at these institutions in any position, means that there's the potential for a mix of people who would not normally be getting this kind of support to go abroad. So you know, I found it to be absolutely wonderful this year, and I just wanted to make sure that people were aware of what a wonderful opportunity it was in that regard. I have to jump off, but I just wanted to say that. So thank you all.
But thank you, Ben. That's such an important point, right? When we started talking about putting together this proposal under Meredith leadership, that's the idea, right? To create opportunities for those who have those who don't actually have the kind of luxury to do research with the funding that we usually get as tenure-track faculty members, right? So that's a very important point. So what is required of you if you are selected? You're required to attend several of the events that we have. Here, especially for the graduate students and undergraduate students, you are required to attend them. So the first event that we are not event, a course that we're offering in spring 2025 is a course that somehow prepares you for the workshop and the field school. This is a 1 credit online synchronous course. It will be taught by the 3 of us, the 3 lead faculty members. We might bring in other people who have specializations to help lead some of the discussions and conversations in the course. So it's basically a 1 credit online synchronous course, but if you are not interested in that 1 credit, you can always audit it for 0 credit. So how do we register that independent study for you? Usually you work with one of us as the lead faculty to register that with our institution, if that could be counted towards your institution. If not, we'll find a way for you to register the course with a professor in your home institution. That might be a little easier to process, but we'll find a way to get you that 1 credit if you need that 1 credit. But you're required to attend that because it's a way to get to know everyone, but also a way to get you ready for the trip. Right? So in addition to that, we'll also have orientations, SUNY CUNY orientations organized by our consortium. So to give you a sense of what to do, how to prepare yourself when you go for the study abroad, well, the field school and the workshop in Malaysia. There will be other orientations too. We are working specifically with the study abroad program or study of international studies program at Stony Brook University to process a lot of your travel insurance, all those things that needs to be taken, the logistics that needs to be taken care of. So there will be one specific orientation organized by Stony Brook University study abroad program to make sure that you are properly set up for the travel. Right, so that we'll have all those information when it's closer. So when we're on ground in Malaysia, we'll have the 3-day workshop. That one is required for everyone in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and a 7-day field school, which follows the workshop. We do encourage everyone to be a part of that, but for specific faculty members or graduate students who might have a different kind of timeline to do their research there, we can discuss how to kind of release you from the field school. But I think our motivation is really to get everyone to be a part of this 10 days as much as possible. And the workshop and the field school will be joined by faculty and students from the local institutions, the ones that we are communicating with directly and working with closely. So it's supposed to be an experience that benefits both our site, our consortium, the students and faculty members who are involved, but also for the local students in the local institutions. Thank you, Meredith. Just read my mind. So the next one, yeah, cost covered. Because of Meredith's hard work leading us, we have the money. We have the money to cover the airfare to Malaysia, room and board during the entire workshop and field school. And we're going to cover your travel insurance when you're there in Malaysia. We're still negotiating the time. We still have to decide on the time when we're done with the workshop and field school. If you want to stay longer, we'll have to figure out whether we can pay for that or how we're going to pay for the insurance. But during the 10 days, the airfare, room and board, they are all covered. So I encourage people to apply. I'll pass the time over to Lauren now.
All right. Yeah, that's the best part of this whole thing is that it's paid for. So for our timeline, I just want to sort of give us a rough sense. So as EK mentioned, in the spring, we'll be holding an online course. Before that happens, we're going to send out a call for proposals sometime in mid to late December. So that's when I'll go over the details of what goes in that, but that's when you would put together your application package. And then we'll have a submission deadline sometime in early February. Basically, we want to time it so that people are back into the semester a little bit and have a little more time to prepare and to hear about it as well, if necessary. So early February application process deadline, and then we'll give notifications by late February so that you have time to plan for all of the travel and everything as it comes up as well. Yep, you're right. Thank you, Meredith. So for the application process, as EK or Martina, I think, said before, we're really interested in finding people who are serious in studying Southeast Asia, and so have a kind of serious focus. You may have a more or less developed project, especially it depends upon your experience in studying Southeast Asia. But we do want people who are serious about learning about Southeast Asia, whether it's for graduate program, as undergraduates, or as faculty who maybe want to expand their teaching repertoire into other areas. So this will include for graduate students and faculty a statement of interest in the field school and focus specifically on our our theme for this year on popular, what is our theme? On popular, popular culture in Southeast Asian identity. Then a paper abstract, which is the one that you would workshop in the 3-day workshop at the beginning of the field school workshop time period in Malaysia. CV, and then if you are a graduate student, recent transcripts from your SUNY, CUNY university. So again, right, you have to be enrolled as a student in order to participate, or at least continuing on to the following year. And then we'll have a specific application form. So the call for proposals will include a link to that form, which is mostly your demographic information. And contact information. Undergraduate students, it's fairly similar. So again, a statement of interest, a paper abstract for consideration, a CV, and your transcripts from your university along with that application form. So a similar process for everyone. And again, we want to emphasize that that you have a well-considered project to workshop in that workshop. And the next slide. Yeah. So as I said a minute ago, the quality of the research project is, these are what we'll be considering when we review the applications, the quality of the research project that's proposed. And also we want to know how Southeast Asian studies will benefit your specific project, but also your career. So for instance, like I said, if you are a faculty member who's focused on other areas and you want to start including Southeast Asia, this would be a good opportunity for you to look into that. As Owen said, for undergraduates, right, this can help sort of focus you for your future path towards grad school. Grad students, if you are working in Malaysia or somewhere else in Southeast Asia, this is a good way to get there, start thinking about new or old issues that you can then keep working on. Yeah, what is it that's going to bring you to Southeast Asia, and why? And for undergrad applications, and particularly want to think about some students, maybe heritage students. I think the last year's group had most of the students were actually heritage students. So how does this tie in, especially since we're thinking about identity in this year's theme? So I think that's the end of the the concrete information. I think right now we just want to sort of open it up to any questions that any people who are here might have for us, and any other comments that those who participated before, if you have any other thoughts that you'd like to add, the floor is open. But first, EK, yes.
Can I jump in real quick, because Vida has a question that I think is important to address. She was asking about the makeup of the group, how many graduate students, how many faculty. So my answer to that, Lauren, Meredith, and Martina, you can correct me. My answer to that is really based on the pool and the kind of projects that we're getting. But we do have a strong preference towards supporting graduate students who are really working on projects in the region. So they are the ones that really need to be on the ground. So it's an opportunity for them to go back with the support that we have to share their work, but also to be able to do more research where they need to. Yeah.
Yeah, let me just add one thing to that, which is obviously the expectations for a paper abstract for undergraduates versus graduate students versus faculty will be different, but the goal is really to make sure that undergraduates also then have this opportunity to develop, it could be a paper that you've worked on for class or something maybe that you'll work on over the course of the spring semester class and then develop further, but you should have at least an idea of it. But yeah, for graduate students in particular, but certainly also for faculty, probably less for undergraduates, just given the nature of how these things tend to pan out. We would encourage you to stay on or before or after for your own research purposes. So we are happy to get the flight so that you have extra time. The only thing is if there's a difference in cost, you may have to bear the difference in cost if it's more expensive. If it's less expensive than coming for specific dates, we will just thank you. But yeah, so just like think, especially if you're a graduate student who needs to be somewhere in Southeast Asia over the summer, and this fits with your research interests, this can be a way then to basically fund the airfare to Southeast Asia.
Yeah, thank you, Meredith, and thank you, AK, because that was part of the question too, because we're thinking, students' arrival, because you have the 10 days, of course, 10 days fully funded, but with this kind of travel, they have to arrive the day before, or they leave, the day after, and so how we are actually accommodating that and work out with the budget, and then in terms of the makeup of the group also, because I got some questions already about that, like the number of faculty, because we have like a number that we can say, okay, we can only allow, up to 2, right? So we're just looking, depending on the pools, of course, but at least there is some sort of like a benchmark that we can't have, more than 2 faculty members with the group. And of course, it's more toward, students, and depending on the nature of the students, of course, you will get more grad students than undergrad. But I was just looking for like kind of, guidance in terms of at least a max number that we could just say, okay, there's cannot be more than this number, right? Because we know the max number for the group in 10, right? So we have 10 people, but yeah, so thanks.
Read it out for you if you prefer that. Oh, I just
You cut out for a second.
Okay, so I was just saying that you can raise your hands to ask questions. If not, you can also type your questions in the chat room so that we can read it out for you too. So that whichever works for you.
I have a question. Do you know who the local partners will be yet for the field school in Malaysia?
Sorry, I just fell off Zoom somehow. But the main host institution is Nottingham University in Kuala Lumpur.
Oh, there's a question in the chat box.
Jody
Yeah.
has a question, right?
Yeah, Jody, can we recommend this to students who are just beginning to have an interest in Southeast Asia? Absolutely. Yeah, the whole goal of SEAC is to create a consortium of people and connect us to each other, and 2, to get more people interested in Southeast Asia. So absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't just talk, but that's so, because I have students who play gamelan, and that's maybe their first contact with anything from Southeast Asia, but some of them do get very excited. And so this would be the kind of thing I could say you should look more further into this, and it would be open to them.
Absolutely.
Okay,
and for the proposal, if they can look into something that's on site that they're interested in exploring, that would make the proposal convincing, right? So it doesn't matter whether you're familiar with the area or not. If you have an interest and there's something that you can explore, it will show in the proposal, right? So I think that's a fair way to think about how eligible they are. Yeah.
Great.
Meredith, we didn't hear your question. We weren't able to hear your comment.
I just got disconnected from Zoom somehow. But yeah, so I was just asking if you could say a bit about the spring course as well, for those who might be interested in that, but not able to continue on with Malaysia. In other words, you just want to do the class, but not the field school.
Yeah, well, the class will be online synchronous, as we said, and it's going to be a 1-course class, and it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be kind of a unique class, especially since it's such a rare opportunity for CUNY and SUNY students to all get together and like study not just from one professor, but 3. from across these two kind of like massive institutions. And so, we're going to be exploring the themes of the main theme for the year. I mean, we haven't actually quite worked out exactly like what, how to kind of organize this, I mean, Southeast Asia is a massive like place, and there's so much to sort of to look at. But yeah, we will be exploring different kinds of literature, different forms of media, and how these shape sort of various identities within Southeast Asia. But yeah, we also hope to kind of bring in people in the literary world as well. Like I know EK works with the Singapore Literature Festival, and so we'll be bringing in sort of outside speakers. But yeah, it'll be CUNY and SUNY students working together with all three of us. And actually we will probably work on at least the idea is to work on for example, for undergraduate students who have an interest in Southeast Asia but who do not yet have a kind of like developed project. We will use this course to kind of think through, develop these projects, so by the time they arrive in Kuala Lumpur in June, they will have a better sense of like, what are the research questions they're interested in? What are the sort of sources they're going to explore? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, can I also add that I think it's really exciting to have three different instructors. We have a historian, an anthropologist, and a literary and cultural studies scholar. So all three of us can offer something very different, but also see how we overlap. So it offers students a chance to think about how they can reach across disciplines in their own work too. Other guest speakers that we can have could be people that we might invite to attend the workshop or the field school to share their work, to share their research. So prior to us bringing the group over to Malaysia. So I think that would that's one way of preparing the group, but also reading materials or reading research that are published by some of the scholars in Malaysia or in Singapore, Malaysia, Southeast Asia in general that works on popular culture, popular media. So it's all ways of trying to engage before we get there. So when you get there, when the students and faculty members who are involved, when they get there, they don't feel like they are out of place. They already know something about the kind of research that are done and published by scholars whom they might be meeting. Yeah.
I know that you guys are still working on the details, but how often do you plan to meet? Because it's online synchronously, so how often do you plan to meet per week and for how many weeks, right? Because it's 1 credit hour.
I think it was once a week. It will probably follow the model that they did for the last course, which would be a once a week meeting.
Yeah, last week it was once a week for, I think it was a 2-hour session, if I remember correctly. And it was sort of once there was a pool of students, we sent out like a survey to figure out what would be the best time. So it ended up being on Fridays as being the time that there were fewer classes scheduled for everybody involved. So that worked. Yeah.
How many weeks, Meredith?
It was the full semester. If I remember correctly, it might have, but then like recognizing that the CUNY and SUNY calendars aren't perfectly aligned. So I think we went with like the later start. I can't remember exactly, but yeah. And there's not, it's like, I wouldn't expect, I don't mean to speak for the instructors, but I wouldn't expect, a heavy workload in terms of like written products and so on. It is just 1 credit class, but each of the students did researched and presented a presentation on a specific topic relevant to the research. And there was also like a field trip at the end for those who were able to join to see an exhibition at PS MoMA that Jacqueline Reyes had put together. So we heard about one of her, she had multiple things going, but yeah. And Elizabeth, am I right, Elizabeth, about the schedule?
Yeah, so we did do it for the whole semester, and then like you said, based on breaks, we kind of switched off, and there were some weeks where like the SUNY students were off, but the CUNY students were, so whoever made it could. And we also did a few special events, like we visited an art gallery together. So there may be opportunities for things like that, where as a class we can get together in person for those who can make it, based on events.
Thank you.
Other questions from folks?
Hi. I was looking earlier. There was a URL posted to a website about this particular project. I don't know how to find that again.
Oh, I can put that in the Zoom
Yeah, I mean, I was going through our old email, but anyway, but yeah, I'd like to have a look at it. Also, be able to direct students to.
Yep. Thank you. All right. So
And,
this
and
is
one can also always find information on
That's what I was
our website. Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
SEAC website information there. And I'm gonna put Martina, EK, and my email in the chat box as well, in case anyone has specific questions that they'd like to ask us. There you go. And feel free to contact us with other questions, or if you hear somebody who might be interested, to direct them our way.
Okay, so the course interest form is for potential students, and then the general website is about the whole project.
Yeah, and I'll also mention that we do also have grants that are coming up for the fall. So we have a publishing grant for faculty, and we also have a field research grant that graduate students can apply to, and also faculty. And those are on our website. If you click on the opportunities tab on the website, you should see those. And there's also Google Forms linked on those pages for the applications to those, and those are due November 18 for anyone interested in applying to those grants.
I will just thank you, Elizabeth, for mentioning that. I was just about to, so thank you. But if for those who, if you're watching this now, or if you're watching this later, if you were thinking of applying both for the field school workshop and field school and for field research grant, you're welcome to do so. Chances are good, because we want to spread the benefits of what funding we have across as many as possible. We probably would not choose you for both in the same year, but just know that it is possible to apply, and it can happen. Like we had a graduate student who actually was able to participate in more than one thing last year. So yeah.
I'm sorry I just have a question. I'm sorry for coming late too. I had a class earlier. But I'm a PhD student in ethnomusicology at CUNY Grad Center and doing research in Indonesia. And I'm definitely interested in the field school. It sounds so interesting. And I'm also interested in like pan Southeast Asian-ness, like Vietnamese heritage, and really proud of all that art and contemporary arts and like activism initiatives going on. But I'm planning on doing research this summer, so should I, if I'm applying for both the field school and the research grant, is there a way to do preference or something, like choice 1, choice 2, or something?
So what I would suggest is there's separate applications, but what you could do is the research grant application is due first. That's November 18th. So what you might do is just note in that you were thinking of, that you're planning to apply for both. We won't give you 2 airfares. We would just adjust the grant later. So you're welcome to do that, and then it'll just be that what would probably happen is that we then kind of just consider like the airfare from like Malaysia to Indonesia, but we're not massive. Like we can fine tune these things later. So just put a note there so we know, and we'll just take that into account. And don't feel offended if we then lower the amount. If we award you a field research grant and then lower the amount, it's nothing personal. It's just that we can't double pay your airfare. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jody, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, yeah, I was trying to find the little raise hand thing, so you would know I had a question, but I can't find it. I guess I can just raise my hand. There's not that many of us. This is a 3-year project, I'm remembering Lauren describing that it's 3 years and that 1 year's Malaysia and the next year's another country. Am I right about that?
Yes, and Mitch, who was on here, was one of the who's had to leave, is one of the instructors. Vita Vanchan, who's still here, and then Peter Marcotulio is the third for next year.
Yeah.
Vita, do you want to say anything about next year?
Well,
Yeah.
Or,
Well,
I'm sorry, Jody.
what are the other countries? My question is Indonesia going to be one of the countries at a certain point? Because no, so it's Malaysia and
Is Vietnam next year, right?
Malaysia, Vietnam, and what's the third one?
yeah, well,
It was Thailand.
2026, yeah, so it will be Cambodia and Vietnam.
Okay. Good. Thanks.
Last
and we
year,
do-
we
we
already
will
had
apply
one,
for
so
an
last year
extension.
was Thailand. Oh, sorry, Meredith.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We do hope that that Luce Foundation or some other gracious funder, it allows us to extend this. But for now, we have the initial grant period is 3 years, which is well, we have a partial funding for the 4th year, but more for developing courses that can be taught within SUNY and CUNY.
Right. So you've already done Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
Next year's Malaysia, and then Vietnam, Cambodia is the 3rd year. Okay, good. I just want to be able to point students in directions. Excellent. Thank you.
Well, it seems like if there are no more questions, maybe we should wrap this up and yeah.
Thank you all. Good to see everyone.
Yes, thank you so
good
much
to
for
see you.
coming.
Yeah,
Thank you all for
Yeah.
coming,
questions coming
Thanks.
up. Have fun. Thanks.
helping out.
Thanks.
All
All
right.
right.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.